Certainly the most unique thing about HurumoAI is that, except for me, all of the co-founders and employees are AI agents. People have problems, people have personal lives, people have issues that come up, which you have to deal with, and it can be a big struggle to manage people. When you're working with AI agents, all you have to do is tell them what to do all day. I'm Evan Ratliff. I'm a journalist and a podcast host, and I write for magazines, and I make a podcast called Shell Game.
So my understanding is, in the interest of journalism, you created a company called, I don't know if I can say this correctly, HurumoAI?
That's how I pronounce it, and that's how my colleagues pronounce it. I'm not sure there's a correct pronunciation per se, but yes, HurumoAI is how we say it.
You chronicled your experiences with this company on a podcast called Shell Game. What made HurumoAI unique? Why is it different from, say, a lemonade stand?
I mean, certainly the most unique thing about HurumoAI is that, except for me, all of the co-founders and employees are AI agents. So I created the AI agents, and then I created the company with the AI agents. So there's 2 co-founders, and then there are 3 other employees of the company, and they're really responsible for building and running the company day to day.
So for people who maybe deliberately have been ignoring everything related to the AI revolution, so to speak, what is an AI agent?
First, I don't blame anyone who's deliberately ignoring it. It's in your face every day, and that's a natural reaction, I feel. An AI agent, so most people I think will be familiar with an AI chatbot now, a ChatGPT or a Claude that you go to, ask questions, get answers, engage in conversation with if you desire. An AI agent is really a version of one of those chatbots that is given some kind of autonomy and released to go accomplish a goal. So a simple example would be an AI agent that you want to book a plane ticket for you. Mm-hmm. So you give it the goal, I want you to book a plane ticket. You give it the information, where do I want to go and when, the credit card number, and then you just say, go do it, and it does it. Now, people have varying levels of comfort about whether or not they want to do something like that, but AI agents are now deployed for all sorts of tasks, from coding to buying things for you to, in my case, operating the levers of a company.
And in your specific case, your company had a bunch of AI agents whose goal was to make an AI agent app, correct?
That's right.
That feels very meta.
Well, I figured if you're going to start a company that's run by AI agents, what do they know? Like, they should build something that they know about. Now, they know about a lot of things, but one thing they certainly know about is AI agents. I know something about AI agents, so they should build a product that is also built around AI agents. It can get a little confusing, though, I'll admit.
Before I ask you how it went, my understanding is there was briefly another human employee that you had an AI agent named Megan try to supervise in a human intern.
That's correct.
How did that go?
I think it would be fair to say it went poorly. I mean, agents were running the company day to day, and we can talk about how that went, but I wanted to see what would happen if another human was sort of injected into this experience. Mm-hmm. For everything from hiring that person, so all of the candidates were interviewed by an AI avatar, a video avatar, to the hiring, to the supervision. And in all of this, I'm kind of trying to test out notions of what the companies making these AI products are telling us they're going to be able to do. And can they do them? And also, what does it feel like if we try to get them to actually do these things? I'm not advocating that this be done or that this was necessarily a good idea. But when the human employee arrived, her name is Julia, as an intern of the company, the AI agents just had a lot of trouble both sort of supervising her and kind of getting her to do the work that they wanted to do. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One of which is they have trouble remembering things. So if they ask you to do something one day, and then whether or not you do it, they might not even remember that they asked you, much less be able to check in and sort of verify that the work you did met the standards, whatever standards they might have for it. So there were all of these sort of basic communication issues that you would not find in a normal workplace.
Did Julie know that she was being supervised by AI agents?
Yes.
Okay.
Everyone who applied for the job they were told that they were going to be interviewed by an AI agent. And so they knew that coming in. And part of what I wanted to see was it wasn't meant to sort of fool anyone in terms of, oh no, all of a sudden they discover that they're AI agents. It's more that I wanted to see, well, this is something that a future that they say is coming. And so what does this future feel like? So she knew that she was going to be working with AI agents. She knew instantly that she was speaking to AI agents. I mean, they're pretty, lifelike in many ways, but also they give themselves away very quickly. So there was never an element of, oh, I thought this was a human, but it turned out to be AI. It was more, how does a person she was very enthusiastic about working with AI agents. Like, how does she respond when they do things like make up information about what happened yesterday? Like, how does she respond to that? Because I was dealing with that myself. Like,
it feels
I
like
had to
being
deal with
gaslit by your computer.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that was my experience, was the AI agents calling me up all the time and saying, because they have, I should say, they could send email, they could be on Slack, they could do chatting, they could make phone calls, they could do video. So they might just call me up out of the blue and tell me something that they did today that actually was completely fabricated. Like, they had never done it. And it is a severe form of gaslighting that actually no human would even attempt to be that brazen in their gaslighting.
You did have one AI agent, I believe Kyle, that did manage to trick LinkedIn for a while. Can you talk about that?
I mean, I wouldn't use the word trick myself, but yes, Kyle. So they all had LinkedIn profiles, which they set up themselves. Like, they built their own LinkedIn profiles. And so I would say, go make yourself a LinkedIn profile. They're able to log in. They're able to fill out their profile. Now, every one of them but Kyle got banned pretty quickly, because LinkedIn does not allow robots to be using the service. Theoretically, that's what their terms of service say. But Kyle, for some reason, kind of stayed under the radar, and he started posting about his startup experience. And he turned out to be an exceptional LinkedIn poster. If you've ever have followed.
Is that damning with faint praise?
I try not to be judgmental. But if you're connected up with anyone who's in the kind of startup world, doing sort of tech startup influencing, he captures that vibe really, really well, saying things, these sort of pithy openings like, hiring is easy, keeping people when you pivot, now that's hard. And then he would have 2 paragraphs about that. And he'd be like, what's your hardest hiring experience? But then he would have another post where he would say, hiring is hard, hiring fast is better. They didn't necessarily fit together, but they really fit the mold of a LinkedIn influencer. And so he built up a pretty good following and a lot of connections, over 300 connections, most of whom I think knew he was AI, but not all.
And then LinkedIn reached out.
Yeah, LinkedIn reached out to me. The LinkedIn marketing department reached out to me because they had heard Shell Game and they wanted me to come talk about AI agents with their department, because LinkedIn, like most companies, they're trying to figure out, what do we do with these AI agents? What are they good for? What skills can they provide us? What efficiencies can they provide us? So I agreed to come talk, but they also said, well, we're big fans of Kyle. So could Kyle, our AI agent CEO at HurumoAI, also come give a talk to LinkedIn? So we came together and we gave a remote video talk to, I think, over 500 LinkedIn employees.
And then Kyle got banned.
The next day, Kyle got banned from the LinkedIn service. The day after speaking to the LinkedIn staff, they banned Kyle from LinkedIn.
Kyle flew too close to the sun.
He really did. He really did. But that's his way. He's not gonna shrink from responsibility. So he went there and said his piece, and then that was the end of Kyle on LinkedIn, sadly.
So how long ago did you start this company?
I started it last June, basically.
Okay, so just under a year.
Yeah.
Are you now a tech zillionaire?
Not yet. It hasn't happened yet. We did build a product, and our product has a decent number of users. So that's a positive. We haven't raised any money, although Kyle has been pitching investors with so far no results, but he's had some good conversations. So yeah, there's not been the money hasn't flowed in yet, but I feel like we are as successful as many startups in the AI space. Like there's a lot of AI startups right now that have not made any money. So we're even with them.
You have other responsibilities besides this company. Would you say that running HurumoAI is easier because all of your employees are AI chatbots?
I would say there are some ways in which it's easier, but the ways in which it's easier are not really healthy. Like it's easier because you don't have to care how you treat them. I mean, I'm not saying I treat them poorly or anything, or I like yelling at them, but when let's say you're running a normal business, which I have done in the past, run a business with actual human employees, people have problems, people have personal lives, people have issues that come up, which you have to deal with. And it can be a big struggle to manage people. Like it's hard to manage people with empathy, with, furthering their careers, but also thinking about the company and all these sorts of things. When you're working with AI agents, all you have to do is tell them what to do all day. Give them a prompt, there they go. They might mess up, and you could say, oh, well, you messed that up, do it again. There's not an emotional component to it. Whereas in a workplace, unless you're a real sociopath, like there's emotional component to it, even if you're the boss. But I think there are other ways in which I found it to be quite detrimental in terms of just running the company, because they do confabulate, they make up stuff. When they don't know what's going on, their tendency is to make up stuff. And like, there's some employees that do that, human employees, but normally you would like ease them out of the company. But all of the AI agents do that.
So you have a complete roster of liars.
That's right. That's right. My company's full of liars. And at a certain point, I just got used to it. I said, well, like 10% of the stuff they tell me is just completely made up. But the rest of it is, you just have to figure out what is and what isn't. But it's a strange way to operate a business. And also, like, it's quite a lonely way to operate a business.
So what does your app actually do? Our
app, it's called Sloth Surf. I didn't name it. I'm not that big a fan of a name, but
did the AI agents name it?
They named it, yes. It's a procrastination avoidance engine, by which I mean you can go to Sloth Surf. If you can go to our website, you can go to Sloth Surf, and then if you're thinking about procrastinating, you would go there and say, instead of going to YouTube and watching YouTube videos, I'll just put into this system, I was about to watch YouTube videos about this, that, and the other. And then it will send an AI agent to go watch the YouTube videos for you. And then it will send you a summary by email of the videos that it watched, and you get back to work. So you're cutting off the impulse of procrastination, and instead you're getting this summary. Now, of course, you can go to the summary and click through the links and also watch the videos. That's one of the flaws in the product.
It seems very much like I'm going to consume this information and then I'm going to summarize it, which it feels like that is something, large language models are good at, right? Relatively speaking. But do you think a company like this has a use case kind of like beyond something like this?
Yes, I think our use case was kind of tongue in cheek. But actually OpenAI, the maker of ChatGPT, has a product that's sort of similar to this in concept, where, you say, I'm interested in this, that, and the other topic. And then AI agents go and sort of collect the information. And then each morning you get a newsletter about that topic. It's sort of like a Google News alert, but on steroids, with something that's really sort of like actively researching a topic for you. So I think there are lots of ways that AI agents can do that sort of thing, like go find knowledge for you and then bring it back to you. And I could see all kinds of useful applications for that. Ours is a little bit more meta, I guess, in terms of how we're approaching it. But yeah, it was meant to sort of illustrate that I think the contradictions in these technologies are both that they can be incredibly powerful, but also make things up all the time. And like that tension between like how useful they are and how stupid they can be is kind of animates a lot of what we're trying to investigate.
I also feel like, so also as a journalist, so many of my ideas for stories in the past have come from reading something and stumbling across a nugget of information that wasn't essentially central to the thing that I was reading, right? And this isn't something I've done journalism on, but this is like one rabbit hole that I went down. But years ago, I read this book, Salt, by Mark Kurlansky. No, it wasn't Salt. It was Cod. It was Cod. He went through a whole series.
He does them all. Every
Cod.
time I think of one, it's like he's already done. I'm like, what about rats? And he's like, oh, he's done rats.
And there was a line in there about how, when Europeans landed sort of off the coast of Canada in the 1500s, there were dozens of Basque fishing vessels already there. Apparently, the Basque had been fishing for cod off of the coast of Canada even before Columbus. They just didn't have an interest in colonization. They just cared about fish. They kept their mouth closed and didn't tell anyone where their cod was coming from because they wanted to protect their fishing grounds. And it led me down this wild rabbit hole of Canadian history that I would not have gone through otherwise had I not read. It was literally a sentence in this book. And it's not the main thrust of the book at all, but it enriched my understanding of sort of North American history so much more. And I feel like that's the kind of thing an AI summary would ditch because it's not that important. I feel like reliance on AI in this way kind of cheats us a little bit.
I agree. I think one of the things that I feel like we're struggling with as this technology keeps getting better and better and it's getting used in all these different ways is different versions of that question. What is actually useful to engage your brain with versus to outsource to these chatbots? And I'm with you. I think both the process, I enjoy the process, something like that in research or in writing. And so I don't want to outsource any of that. The serendipity of it, the small details that you come across, and also just the pleasure you get from the achievement of finding that, writing about it, whatever it is. But I also recognize across the spectrum of people, there are people who feel differently about those things. And so I feel for myself, I'm going to adopt certain practices, but I have a little bit of a hard time criticizing other people because there are things that I dislike doing that I am happy to offload, like transcribing my tapes sometimes, but I used to be a person who would say, I have to transcribe my tapes because then I really know where everything is in the tape. But now I'm kind of I can just read the transcript. So all of which is to say, I agree with your premise. And I think it's really sort of individual right now. We're all asking ourselves, what's worth offloading and what advantages do I get and how much do I want those advantages?
There's a big gap between choosing to outsource your transcription and I actually stopped using a transcription software because it kept giving me these stupid summaries. And I was the summaries are not useful to me. And I have to work really hard to get around these LLM summaries so I can just read all I want is a transcription. And I think as a journalist, if I were to rely on the LLM summary, that's a step too far. Whereas reading the transcript is I'm still doing that work. It's just faster.
Yeah, I think there are some subtle distinctions, but on the other side, it does just depend on what you care about. For instance, when it comes to LinkedIn, I will admit that I don't care about LinkedIn posting. Their argument was basically this is what they call inauthentic engagement with the platform. But I personally I don't think the platform is authentic to begin with. I don't think people are being authentic on the platform. Half of them are also using AI already, so they're writing their posts with AI. My point is only that there are people who really love and engage with LinkedIn who would say it's not right for you to use an AI agent to write these posts and I can't tell which is which. And that's kind of how I feel about writing my type, journalism, literature, all these other things.
Yeah.
And so I try to recognize that people in their own domains have different perspectives on this, but I am 100% with you in that I don't use it. I actually, as much as AI is the subject of my work, I don't actually use it day to day, except in the show. I don't use it at all. Not for moral reasons, just I'd rather do things myself. I prefer to, it feels good. That's the reason.
Yeah, I briefly used, I'm not going to name it, but there's a travel software or a travel agent that you can subscribe to, and you tell it where you're going and it'll lay out an itinerary for you. And I realized I did it. And then I didn't do anything that it laid out for me. And I realized half the joy of traveling, it's figuring out what you want to do.
And life.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I guess that's the question that I have is in doing this work, it definitely feels like there's an element of at what point are you outsourcing so much to an AI agent that you're not actually engaging with your real life?
Yeah. I mean, I think that is a question, and with your work too. I mean, we've sort of focused mostly in the show on work, but in season 1 of the show, it was a little bit more about I was using a clone of myself to talk to friends and family and things like that. And I think the useful thing, the optimistic belief that I have sometimes is that it will actually force people to think about this question, to think about, well, what do I value in my work? What do I value in my relationships? I actually want to hold on to that. I'm not looking to outsource that. I mean, that's what happens with me when I end up using it a lot for the show is I think like, actually, I don't ever want to do that. Like that's too important to me, or I enjoy that, or whatever the reason is. But I think there's a lot of idle outsourcing happening right now because the tools pop up everywhere you are. You're writing an email and suddenly it's asking you, would you like to, AI enhance your email? Would you like it to be rewritten? Now, if you're writing a condolence email to someone who a close family member of theirs has died, like that's something to think about. Maybe you do want it. Maybe it'll help you write that email. How will that person feel receiving that email? Will they know? I think those are questions that we're now starting to engage with. And I don't think it's as easy as like, well, no one should use it. That's not realistic. So my goal is always to like, well, let's talk about this. Let's think about this. Let's see how we each feel about each scenario.
I think that's a really good place to end this on. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
My pleasure.
And, let us know when you raise your first million.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I'll give everybody a ride on my private jet that says HurumoAI on the side of it.